TVS has a very diverse product portfolio, but one thing that's missing from its lineup was a 125cc family scooter. Now, recent data shows that 22% of the scooter buyers in India opt for a 125cc commuter scooter, and more importantly, this segment has been witnessing consistent growth over the last few years. Now, in order to compete in this flourishing space, TVS came up with the bigger and better version of its star scooter, the Jupiter, a few weeks back, and this one's called the Jupiter 125. We have already ridden this scooter at the company's very own test track in Hosur, and now is the time to tell you its real-world performance, and more importantly, has it got what all it takes to challenge its well-established rivals. But before going ahead, if you still haven't, please subscribe to our Express Drive's official YouTube channel and also click that little bell to stay notified. Now, starting off with the design of the scooter, as you can see, the TVS Jupiter 125 gets a quite traditional design language, and that, in my opinion, is not a bad thing at all. Because as you can see, this type of a design is very widely accepted design, and hence it doesn't make any sense to make any drastic changes to this design. So no complaints there at all. What TVS has done though is try to give this scooter a very premium appeal, and hence you can see a lot of chrome on this scooter. In order to be precise, you can find chrome on the rear view mirrors, on the headlamp cowl, on the front apron, and also on the exhaust and the side panels. The new Jupiter 125 gets an all-LED headlamp, and while it is not the brightest setup out there, you'll hardly find yourself complaining. The LED DRLs positioned over the front turn indicators and the 12-inch diamond-cut alloy wheels look a class apart and certainly enhance the desirability quotient of the scooter. The side panels have a curvy design that seems to gel well with the rest of the body of the Jupiter 125. The body-colored inner apron and that tiny reflector piece on the pillion rear body grab rail come across as some small thoughtful touches that further contribute to making the scooter look a bit more upmarket. The quality and the fit and finish levels are top-notch, what you would typically expect from a manufacturer like TVS. Overall, the Jupiter 125 looks substantially different and modern compared to the Jupiter 110. Now, coming to the instrument cluster, this one is a semi-digital unit that shows a lot more information compared to the one on the Jupiter 110. The setup gets twin trip meters with trip F and also shows the average and instantaneous fuel efficiency apart from the usual stuff. The TVS Jupiter 125 is the only scooter in its segment to offer an external fuel fill at the front. And now what TVS have done, that instead of keeping the fuel tank of the scooter at the rear, which is the usual case, they've actually moved it towards the front, and now the fuel tank of the TVS Jupiter 125 is located under the floorboard. And if by any chance, if you're thinking that it is not a good thing that the fuel tank of the scooter is located under the floorboard as it's closer to the ground or something like that, well, you don't need to worry at all, as the fuel tank of the scooter is made up of metal, just like the rest of the body of the scooter. The TVS Jupiter 125 comes with the segment largest under-seat storage of 33 liters. The massive storage area can fit in 2 regular full-size helmets and even a laptop bag. And also, if you think of getting your monthly stock of groceries in one go, well, that shouldn't be a problem at all. Apart from this, you get a 2-liter glove box at the front that can accommodate things like a water bottle, wallet, etc. Moreover, keeping your mobile phone here also makes sense, as the nearby located USB charging port makes sure that it's getting juiced up while you're on the go. So TVS wanted to strike a decent balance between fuel efficiency and performance, and which is why they have employed a 124.8cc 2-valve engine on the Jupiter 125 in comparison to a 3-valve motor on the Ntorq. Now, coming to the power output, this one makes slightly higher output than the standard 110cc Jupiter, and in order to be precise, this one makes around 8 HP of power along with 10.5 Nm of torque. Now, how these numbers translate on the road? Let's go and find out. The first thing that you'll possibly notice about this engine is the fact that it is supremely refined almost throughout the rev range. The scooter feels quite eager in the lower revs, and the solid mid-range ensures hassle-free overtakes in the city. The power delivery is quite linear, and the scooter takes some time to build acceleration post the 70 to 75 km per hour mark. Yes, there are some vibrations that start to creep in after 60 to 70 km an hour through the floorboard and the handlebar, but these won't bother you much. During our tests, the Jupiter 125 managed to clock a top speed of close to 90 km an hour. Well, obviously, this is a typical family scooter, and hence, the decent fuel efficiency comes at the expense of the top-end performance. Speaking of which, the Jupiter 125 returned us a combined real-world figure of 54 km to a litre, which in our opinion is quite impressive for a 125cc scooter. A big contributing factor towards this is that the scooter comes with auto start-stop tech that automatically shuts down the engine after around 7 seconds when the scooter is at idle. You can start the scooter again by pressing the brake lever and twisting the throttle. Now the seat height on the Jupiter 125 is a very accessible 765mm, and this height is exactly the same as the standard 110cc Jupiter, and which means that this scooter will not give complaints to almost riders of any kind of height. However, the Jupiter 125 gets a much longer seat compared to its standard 110cc counterpart, and in order to be precise, the seat on this one is 65mm longer than the 110cc Jupiter. And what it means is that you have ample of space to seat 2 people on this scooter. Now, talking of the floorboard of this scooter, the floorboard on the TVS Jupiter 125 is a bit wider in comparison to the one on the standard 110cc Jupiter. And as you can see, you have plenty of space to place your belongings, and this one can even accommodate a gas cylinder. Yes, this was actually the brief given to us during the first ride presentation of the TVS Jupiter 125 by folks at TVS. Well, we are really glad that someone in their R&D perfectly understands Indian middle class families. Talking of the seating comfort, the seat on the TVS Jupiter 125 is wide and it's well padded, and this is actually good enough to give you comfort even for a couple of hours. Comfort is one of the key areas that TVS has focused on with the Jupiter 125, and the good thing is that the scooter very well manages to deliver on this front. The long wide seat coupled to the plush ride quality ensure a decent level of comfort even for the pillion. The suspension that gives a rather softer feel is good enough to handle broken patches with ease, and the scooter doesn't lose its composure even while going over large undulations. Thanks to the 12-inch wheels, the Jupiter 125 feels stable and composed in the city, and these actually give you the confidence to filter through traffic in a jiffy without any second thoughts. With the fuel tank that is located under the floorboard, the Jupiter 125 has a low center of gravity, and this certainly contributes to handling. The scooter feels flickable and isn't hesitant when it comes to changing directions on corners as well. The grip offered by the tires is reasonably good, and we didn't had any complaints from them even over wet surfaces. Speaking of brakes, we had the front disc equipped variant for test, and the setup offers an impressive stopping power and a good feedback at the lever as well. The price of the TVS Jupiter 125 starts at around 73,000 rupees, and that makes it around 7,000 rupees costlier than the base variant of the Jupiter 110. Moreover, its pricing is at par with 2 of its key rivals, namely Suzuki Axis 125 and the Honda Activa 125. However, the Jupiter 125 clearly has an edge here as it offers the highest number of features in its segment, and I'm really happy to report that this one is hands down the most practical scooter that you can buy in India right now. For this reason, the Jupiter 125 turns out to be a great family scooter with key USPs like a generous underseat storage, comfort, convenience, and most importantly, a decent fuel efficiency. That said, if you are on the lookout for something fresh in the 125cc family scooter segment and want something reliable that's built around a tried and tested nameplate, well, in that case, This is clearly one of the best bets in the market right now that shouldn't disappoint you even in the long run. Until next time, this is Pradeep Shah signing off. Please do hit the like button if you like this video. Thank you so much for watching.